My name is Kola. Some people call me Kola Royale. I'm from West London, Shepherd's Bush. I was arrested for 8 attempted murders. I was charged with 2 attempted murders. I was also charged with possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life. Sentenced to 11 years. I've been out 3 weeks, and this is my story. Well, I'm originally from Shepherd's Bush, West London, and that's in England, if you didn't know. And my childhood growing up was full of excitement, full of fun. There was good bits, there was bad bits, but
And what was your education like?
my education was good. I went Mouse Coverdale Primary School. That's also in Shepherd's Bush, and I attended Phoenix High School as a secondary school.
Yeah, and what did you leave with? What grades did you leave school with, and what was school like?
Well, I got kicked out of my secondary school, but when I went into people referral unit, I got a C, I got a C, I got a B, I got a C in maths. And
What was the referral unit like?
just full of loads of kids who, being kicked out of secondary school, and I'll say it's all like troubled kids. Troubled kids, but some people quite smart there as well, but everyone has something in common. That was very, very aggressive at times.
So, Carla, I've got you here today to talk about the case, I guess, that changed your life forever.
Okay.
Yeah, can you tell me from the start about the case and what happened?
Oh, the case that changed my life, I'll say, is when I got the 11 years in prison. Basically, what you want to know, when I actually got arrested, or
From the start, so what was the charge? What was you accused of?
yeah, I was accused of 2 attempted murders and possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life.
So tell me about the day you got arrested.
So the day I actually got arrested was on my way to college. That's when I got arrested. So I was initially stopped for a search. And then the officer decided to take it further and take me to the police station to conduct a strip search. And as when I was there, I was assaulted by the police officer because he claimed that I tried to conceal something. Nothing was found, but I was punched, kicked in my stomach and stuff like that. And after that, I was later arrested for obstructing a police officer in line of duty or something like that. And while I was waiting to get out of the police station, that's when another officer from another department came to the cell door, the police cell door, and he said to me, I'm further arresting you on suspicion of possession of firearm with intent to endanger life.
So initially you was charged for something completely nothing to do with this whatsoever?
No. Yes, and I was on bail. I was also on bail. So I was
On bail for what?
I was on bail for, I think it was a shooting. I was on bail for a shooting at that time, and I was on bail for something else, but I can't remember what it was. But I had just come out of jail that time as well. It was like 3 months I'd been out, so I'm on tag. So when I was in the police station, I was lucky to get bail, but then I was arrested for possession of a firearm intent to endanger life. And it was the particulars of the case that actually got me remanded into prison. Do you know what I mean? So
I guess what goes through one's head when you hear that, so not everyone's going to hear that in their life. So I guess when he said that to you, what was the first thing that came to your head?
I was more worried about getting bail because at the time, I don't know if you call it arrogance, but I just wasn't, it wasn't sinking in too much. I was just more thinking, I need to get out of here because I had a music video that was going to come out.
So what was next? So you've now been charged.
I had a music, I got arrested first. And they just said, basically there was a car that was in the area of a shooting, and a mobile phone that's been attributed to me was also located in that area, and there was messages on my phone being sent to somebody whose cell site is in the area where the shooting took place. But there wasn't nothing to say that.
So are they trying to insinuate at this point that someone was shot and they're trying to say that you've texted the person at the location of the shooting?
No, what they were saying at that time was that it's just a suspicion. Obviously there's been neighbors reporting stuff, and there's witness statements been taken, and what they said was a shooting definitely took place because the crime scene investigation was called to the scene, and they found all the bullet casing. There was somebody who actually saw the shooting take place, and they just said, looking at all the evidence at that time, the person they think carried out that shooting was me. And because of my mobile phone was in that area, and the car they believe was used for the shooting had also been in that area. But they didn't tell me everything at the time. They just told me just a summary of what's going on. And it was up to me to now put my case forward to obviously tell them what had gone on. You know what I'm saying? But as I said in the interview, I made a prepared statement. I said I wasn't the one who fired the gun. I wasn't in the area of the shooting. And that was it. No comment interview. So I was just thinking, oh, that's going to be all right. I'm going to go home. I'll deal with this after. But then I was called to the the front desk, and the officers said, you're being charged. And that's where my heart really sunk. Because I was just thinking, I've only just come out.
So what was next? So you've been charged at this stage, and then what was the next step after that?
I got to prison, and also I was being visited by my barrister, and he told me, I changed my barrister 3 times because I was looking to take the case. I was going to take the case to trial, but the barrister, he came to see me. It was a KC, because he used to have Queen's Counsel at that time, QC, and now it's the King's Counsel because the King's now enthroned, so they call it the KC. So I had a QC at that time, a Queen's Counsel, came to see me, and he said to me the best option at this point was to plead guilty for 10 years. And I looked at him like, what are you talking about? Do you know what I'm saying? At this point, like, what are you talking about? I'm not going guilty for no 10 years, because 10 years at that time was getting it's just like your whole life.
How old are you at this stage?
I was 20 years old. 20 years old or 21? I was 20. I was 20. Yeah. 20, I think it was 21. I just turned 21. So I'm just thinking to myself, he's got to get sacked. So I sacked him. So I got another barrister. And he was just not visiting me on time. So sacked him as well. And then I got a new barrister who also represented me again in another case. But I didn't have a QC this time. I had a junior barrister. And I feel partly that played a role in the prosecution sort of like winning the case, because there was loads of evidence induced at that trial that I couldn't challenge. Plus I was young, you know. So yeah, at that time, when I was in prison, more of the case paper was sent to me. And that's when more of the evidence was unraveling. And that's the particulars of, you know, a video on the internet of a car that they say I own, was being smashed up on the net, you know. And they were saying that, you know, I've got problems with people and stuff like that. And they're saying that this issue it derives from gang stuff, and you feel me? But I've just always made it clear that that's not the case. But they was using this was evidence, because that's what they do. The police they'll bring whatever it takes to try and get you convicted. Now it's up to you to put your case forward for your defense. You see what I'm saying? So you're in a sticky point at this situation. Like at that point, you have to figure out your way out, because you can tell the truth all you want. But like I always say, my barrister told me once, he said, court cases all the time is not about the truth. It's about who can lie the best. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm in a situation where a phone that is attributed to me is leaving an area where they're saying I stay. A car that witnesses say they saw the shooting take place from is in the area. And not unfortunate, but the car had a tracker on it. And the car is able to tell you how fast you're going, your exact location, when the ignition is on, when the ignition is off. So all this data is showing, it's just linking it to me. So
I guess at any stage during this trial, because obviously you've been offered the chance to go guilty, and I guess if I'm transparent, I guess the evidence is not looking good. So I guess at any stage was you thinking maybe I should have gone guilty, even though you believed that you wasn't?
No, because their case was I tried to kill 2 people. That's their case, and I say that those 2 people are my friends. And how it looks and how they was trying to paint this picture wasn't as so at that time, you know. And
how long was the trial?
The trial was I think like 2 weeks.
And how long did the jury take to come to a verdict?
I think they took just half a day. I think it was half a day or a day and a half. I can't remember. I just remembered the verdicts when it came.
What was your gut feeling prior to that verdict being read out? Was you confident, unconfident?
To be honest, I was very confident and slightly cocky, because I'd been on many cases and it was just a winning streak. And I'm a born winner. You know what I'm saying? That's what I said, I'm a born winner. So I was confident. I was being, the gang units was coming to see me, and I do know why, but they was just, I don't think they wanted me out. And I remember my probation officer said to me, a woman called Mariam, she said, you need a long prison sentence, because I feel like you need time to reflect. And I was, I was like, I didn't have to take that. I just felt like, are you wishing bad for me? And there's these little gang units that come and see you, and they were asking me, what are you gonna do when you come out? Do you understand? Because they knew this was my last case. I was on trial for other things. I literally just finished a trial a week prior to that trial. That I won. There was 7 indictments on that case. And I had a co-defendant on that case as well. And we beat every single indictment. And there was one charge of, I think it was GBH on that case that was left because the jury couldn't come to a conclusion. So that was still hanging over me while I was on this trial. Do you feel me? So when the verdict did come, I was on that trial for the 2 attempted murders. So they said not guilty. And then the foreman of the jury said they found on the firearm, it's like guilty. And my heart sunk a little bit, but at the same time I just had to keep strong and just think, what now? Just I'm saying, what now? But I knew what the sentence carried. You know what I'm saying? It was gonna be a big sentence, because the prosecution, they wanted me really, really bad. Do you feel me, at that time? But in some case I felt like the trial was a bit unfair in some ways, because every trial has a route to verdict. So when the case has been summed up, the judge will always give the jury who's the ones presiding on the case, they get given a route to verdict. So they would ask questions for them to come to their conclusion if guilty or not guilty. So they'll say something like, if you believe this man was the one who fired the gun on that day, then he's guilty beyond reasonable doubt. If you believe beyond reasonable doubt, but if you are in doubt or unsure, then the verdict you should come back with is not guilty. You know, the whole case was that I was the man who fired the gun. My defense was, I wasn't the guy who fired the gun. I was the passenger of the vehicle. But the prosecution knew what my defense was. So what they did was get the witness, the main witness, to change the statement halfway through the trial to say that he was mistaken and there was only one person in that vehicle that day. Because now it leaves just me in that car. And I'm the man on trial for firing the gun. So if there's only one driver and there's a shooter from that car, who do you think the shooter is? The driver.
If there's only one person in the car.
Remember, there was two people in the car from the first statement. I said I was the passenger of that vehicle. You know what I'm saying? They've realized what the defense is, and they've made the witness change the statement to say there was only one person in that car. So if there's only one person in the car and there's one shooter,
It's the driver.
It's the driver. And that's partly why I feel I got convicted as well. But also, the judge, the route to verdict said that if you believe I knew the firearm was in the car. So that's not what I was on trial for. I wasn't on trial for knowing the firearm was in the car. I was on trial for shooting the gun out of the car. Do you understand?
What was the firearm?
It was a Mac 10 submachine gun. You know what I mean? So at that time, they actually brought a Mac 10 to court. And during the trial, the prosecution made me hold the gun in court. I didn't hold the gun. I just held the gun with my two hands like that. And I asked to put it down. But what they did was take the gun with the shoulder cock. I don't know if you've seen a Mac 10 machine gun before. It's got a shoulder cock on the back. You know, some of them have the silencer. But they've brought this gun to people in the jury that's never held a gun and passed it to each individual to hold it. Some of the jury didn't want to hold this gun. Like, what? What's going on? And this man here saying, fire this gun. So they all got, it's like a show. They made a video of a watermelon next to a glass, and they got the firearms expert to fire the gun.
Court.
In the video, played to the jury to fire the gun to show you what the gun was capable of. And the gun misfired, I think like 3 times. But on the other test, the gun fired, and each time they used it to shoot a watermelon. So they was trying to show the jury, this is what the intention of Mr. Disa, this what his intention was on that day. That's why how they was trying to secure the attempt to murder case, you know. Well, the case was a machine gun. On the crime scene, there was bullet casing to the right and bullet casing to the left at that time. So there was also bullet casings further down the road. There was bullet casing everywhere, you know. And they're saying there's no way this man wasn't intending to kill somebody. But our defense is our defense, you know. And yeah, they came back with a not guilty verdict. But a firearm, because the route to verdict was, if you feel he knew the gun was in the car, you know, it's a 2-seater R8, Audi R8. So you're sitting close proximity of each other, you know. If they're 2 people in the car, sitting next to each other, you know, they asking, how does he not know that this person is carrying a gun? I know you've seen in movies, people do carry a gun on their waistbands. Do you know what I mean? So I don't necessarily have to see a gun.
And then when the guilty verdict was, tell me about the day that you were sentenced and what that was like.
I was sentenced on the same day. I asked to be sentenced on the same day because I had everyone waiting to put their 2 pence in, and I didn't want that. Probation, the gangs unit, everyone to have the 2 pence to say whatever they want to say, even though some people smiled in my face. So I didn't want to go through that. I just said I want my sentence today. No pre-sentence report. And the judge accepted, and I was sentenced to 11 years.
When you heard 11 years, what did you think?
Well, before I was given 11 years, I had to put my mitigating factors forward, and my barrister obviously told the judge that I was a young man trying to, like, I had aspiration to be a musician and to give me a chance to come out to do music. And
what do you think about 11 years? You think that was too harsh, lenient?
For the firearm, I understood. That's how long. It's always double figures when it's a machine gun. So it wasn't a surprise. That's what the sentence I got was.
You say it was justified?
It was justified because of the case. It was, if you look at the guidelines, because of the case and what it was, the gun was fired. It was in the streets of London. It was in broad daylight. There's witnesses to say that there was people being drove after, you know.
So, Kola, tell me what prison was like for you.
Oh, prison was up and down, man. Prison was up and down. At the beginning, obviously, I didn't really get to settle in prison. That's one thing. I didn't really get to settle in prison for around 3 years of my time.
When you mean settle, because I don't think a lot of people have to relate. What do you mean settle in prison?
Well, settle because I was being further arrested for other crimes, you know, and it was always firearms related. So, you know, I'm having to move prisons again, you know, so I had to go on other trials.
While you were in prison?
While I was in prison, yeah, they come and arrest you in prison.
And what was you charged for while you was in prison?
Attempted murder.
Another 2 attempted murders?
No, 4.
4 more attempted murders?
Yeah. But later on down the line, you have to do your legal arguments and stuff like that. So, because there was other people present, I think there was 6 people present, but 4 was in close proximity of the guy who had been shot. So that's why they came with the 4 attempted murder. But then you argue that, you know, legal arguments, and then they drop it. But then they add other indictments into the thing just so that everyone agrees, and then you look at the evidence and then take it to trial.
You're saying it took you 3 years to settle, so I'm assuming they all concluded after 3 years.
Yeah.
And what was the end results to all of those cases in China?
It was not guilty. You know, some of them NFA'd in the police station. There was loads of cases, but some of them I can't really get into. But yeah.
Do you think your childhood had any impact on, I guess, these choices, and I guess doing end up so much prison time? Do you reckon if you were being in a referral unit when you were a child, do you reckon these, I guess, shaped your upbringing and your adulthood?
Well, I wouldn't say shape my adulthood, but, you know, it kind of like, it kind of brings you around certain people. It brings you around certain people, and it makes you a certain way as well sometimes, you know.
Because I often say you're a product of your own environment.
Sort of, you know, you know, growing up, you know, people having to be, you know, tough, and you don't have to be tough, but growing up, if you're not tough around tough guys, you're going to be literally bait. You're going to be food. Just what I'm saying.
So after you settled, after 3 years in prison, what was prison like from that point on, 3 years onwards?
I was just trying to do better. You know, but it was just, I didn't really have focus that time. But I was still trying to find my purpose. You know, that's the main thing. You gotta have your purpose in life, and that's what I always tell everyone. You have to have a purpose in what you're doing, because if you don't have a purpose, you know, you're always gonna just do anything, really. And I always give the example of, if I invited you on a journey and I said to you, we're going for a drive, if we keep driving, eventually you're gonna ask me, where are we going? And if I just said to you, just hang tight, we're gonna be there soon, there will still be that question in your mind as to where are we going? And that's with life in general. If you don't have a direction and an end goal, you can find yourself being swayed by other things. And I have to admit, through my life, sometimes, you know, I was swayed in some aspects of my life, and I was involved in certain things, you know. But eventually, you know, life's about making mistakes, you know. Rome wasn't built in a day as well. Nothing is perfect. So slowly but surely, you know, found myself and just move forward.
And what was the worst experience that you had in prison?
I had loads of experience, but I say one experience that I had that I did kind of like think like, what the fuck? It's when a group of guys, like not even a group of guys, 2 guys came in my cell and tried to stab me. I don't say tried to stab, did stab me. Did stab me with an ice pick.
Tell me about that story.
Stab me with an ice pick. But there was a guy who, he's always asking me for things like, maybe he wants a box of eggs. He wants, I don't know, tuna. But I felt like he was very manipulative, this specific guy. And I remember him coming to me to say, oh, I heard so-and-so is saying something. But he didn't say that. Like, he just burst into my door. And I had a thing in prison, don't just come into my cell. I don't really have people come to me. I go to people. So I've warned him about it before. He's quite a big guy, but it's in prison for me, it didn't matter what size he was. It's just, I'm just confident guy. Don't come to my cell like that. You know what I mean? And on this specific day, he came, barged in, yo, Kola. And I was like, what? It's like, oh, I said, no, actually, I didn't say, well, I said, bro, what did I tell you? Because whatever you want to say to me, I want to address my issue first. Why did you barge into my door when I've already told you not to do that? And he looked at me and he said, forget that. And he walked away. But that's how I knew that this guy's heart wasn't so pure. Because if you knew something was going on and you wanted to inform me as to what was going on, you would still tell me regardless of what my attitude was at that time, because you sincerely care. The only reason why you move the way you move is because you only wanted to benefit from giving me that information for later on for yourself. So he left. About 5 minutes later, I remember I was there and doing what I was doing, crashed in. And I remember just seeing the hand like that, like literally trying to, you feel me? But when I just had a quick I used to have a quick reflex. I still do. I went like that and then got out of the cell. You feel me? And I went into my next doors. And then I just remember looking at my chest and it was literally blood like that. And I thought, fuck, that was the time I thought, fuck, I've been stabbed in my heart. Because that's where your heart is. I thought, shit, I've been stabbed in my heart, you know? And yeah, I took off my top. And I remember the guy next door, he's a good guy. And he said to me, yo, Kola, chill out. Let me see. And he just looked over me, like checked my body and then found where the source of the bleeding was. And he said, oh, don't worry, man. It's not that bad. But the main thing, I got stabbed in my bicep as well. You know what I'm saying? So the stab in my bicep and the one under my chest was the one that turned my top red. So I quickly took off my t-shirt and tore and tied it around the one on my arm because it's a bit more fleshy. And I remember one of the guys was trying to take something from my cell at that time, you know. And this incident was based on somebody else because I saw them. We had an altercation with each other, and I saw him in the gym. Saw the guy in the gym, and obviously the guy thought he was tasty at that time. But when I came to actually be in front of his face with no one there, that wasn't the situation. So he came off worse than I did, even though he instigated it. And I went back, and the word got around. And it's always the lifers in prison. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, don't talk to the lifers. don't, that's the thing in prison. The lifers probably don't know this, but people that are not doing life sentence always say, no, listen, don't associate yourself with the lifers. Their mindset is different. You know what I'm saying? Free all the lifers, but but I always show love to everyone, and I always show love to this guy because of his co-defendants and stuff like that. But moving forward, that incident happened, and yeah, it just made me more of a, but I ended up dealing with it. I dealt with the situation one by one.
Kola, can you tell me the worst memory that you had while you was in prison?
One of the worst memory was just having no money. Back in, I think it was 2012. I literally had run out of money, man, because things weren't going too well. And there's people outside, you think, oh yeah, everyone's got you. But realistically, the only people that really have you is your family. But more time, you don't really call your family, you call your friends, But most of my friends were in jail. You feel me? And there was one girl I used to talk to. She was my good friend, I used to look after her, help her out when I was outside. And I remember calling her. You used to get 50p a week. I used to put 50p on the phone. You get £2.50, but they take 50p for the phone. Then you have to maybe want to use £1 for something. Back then it was crazy. And you only used to have the phone outside, this blue box to use. So I remember going on the phone, I had 50p and I had to make one phone call. And I called her quick and I said, yo, send me money. Cause I said, try to send me 25 to 50 pounds, cause I really need it. I've got no money, literally. And because of somebody I've really been around and looked out for, why wouldn't they look after me at this time in need? So I was thinking, the postal order, because back then you could send postals into prison. I was thinking, this postal order, it's going to come through any minute now. Thursday came, because the credit goes on every Thursday. So I used to put this 50p on to make this call. And I went on the prison phone to make this phone call. So I didn't get the money. I remember the girl saying, oh, you know what? Yeah, I couldn't send you that money because I had to do something. I had to use it for something else. And I thought, what could be more important than me needing that money? It's 25 quid at least. Do you know what I mean? And I felt so hurt, man. I felt so hurt because I just, when I look after people, when I check for people, is with sincerity, There's no hidden agendas, but I do that not because I want something back, but when you are in need, you never know when that time is going to be. You feel like the people that you looked out for should look after you. You know what I mean? Everyone's has their own option. They have a choice in life to do whatever they want to do, but it's only normal. If someone's looked after me, I'm a very appreciative person. I'll always have your back, So at that time, it was a very dark moment. And I remember calling, getting she actually wrote to me, one of my friends, she wrote to me, checking if I'm okay and stuff like that. And I wrote to her and I said, she goes, do you need anything? I said, yeah, send me a postal. She asked, do you want me to send you a postal? I said, yeah, send me a number. I registered a number. And I remember this girl was pregnant at the time. She was actually pregnant with her first child. And yeah, she sent me £50, And I'll never forget, till this day, I'll never forget that. She's still my friend to this day. And I thought to myself, rah. And I met this specific girl through that other girl. But she's still my friend to this day. Then other one, very sincere, you know what I mean? And I just felt, not everyone you started the journey with, you're always going to end the journey with, And sometimes people are put into your life for you to meet other people. So don't always think like all the people you're with today is the people you're going to be with forever, Sometimes those people are just coming for a specific part of your life to teach you a lesson. And other people are blessed, you're blessed with other people that's going to help you, enjoy your life and get to the places you want to get to. So but yeah, that was one of my darkest moments in prison, man, just having nothing and actually needing something and being let down by the people that you thought, I sincerely thought was going to be there for me.
So tell me about the day, Kola. Actually, how long have you been home now?
I've been home only for 3 weeks now.
3 weeks?
3 weeks, yeah. 3 weeks now.
What was that feeling like 3 weeks ago when you got released?
I just felt very, very liberated because this is the final years. This is like I'm literally a free man.
How old are you?
I'm 32 now.
So your 20s are...
I wasted all my 20s in jail, man.
What advice would you give to someone, Kola? I guess, because the next generation, I think everyone always says the next generation is bad, the next generation is bad, but this generation does seem very, very bad and doesn't really... I guess it's almost like prison's glamorized. It's almost cool. Because
but no one ever tells you that, you know, in the long run, you're going to suffer. You're literally going to suffer. You're going to spend all your life in jail because you want to impress people that actually don't care about you. Like most people around, yes, you can be in a gang, you can roll with whoever you want to roll with, but when real life really hits, these people are not going to be there. If you have your own home, for example, and you went to prison, you have to ask yourself, how many of the people around you can you leave your home with to be responsible to those bills, those direct debits? Can you actually say, you know what? Help me look after this. You might have got your car on finance. How many of your friends, when you look around, can you say, this person will look after my belongings like it's their own? You know, most people around you, they're just in it for what they can get. And that's what the streets don't understand. You know, when you're in the streets, you just think everyone is, yeah, my bro, yeah, my guy. And you think, oh, they might send you a few money here and there. That makes them your friend. But realistically, when you're really deeper, your real friends, they don't want you to do bad things. Do you know what I'm saying? They're always trying to channel you for greatness. They want you to be the best. Like none of my close friends ever tell me to go and do certain things. They want me to do well and they always tell me chill out, you know?
And Kola, what was the biggest change that you noticed in society of the world when you come out?
It's just everyone's very, very self-centered. That's what I believe. A lot of people are just self-centered, and it's like, if you're not benefiting people, you know, they don't really want to know. Do you know what I mean? But that's how the game, it's always been like that. You know, I've been told that, you know, when I was young. But seeing as an adult, because life really gets serious, you know, you got responsibilities now. So you start realizing how people behave and people move. Everyone could be with you today smiling. As soon as things are not going well, you're being left.
Kola, what's different? Why will you never go back to prison again?
Because I have more focus in life, you know, and I'm in control of me. You know what I'm saying? I have a choice, and I've spent my time reflecting on myself. I don't point fingers. I don't blame the world. I don't blame other people's for the things I went through. I don't say it's anyone's fault. It's my fault because I have a choice to make. You know what I'm saying? And I always, even in little bad situations that I find myself in, I always ask myself, first of all, what do I take responsibility for? And I always try and find the positives in the negative. And sometimes when I feel, I wouldn't say the old me and the bad sides coming out, I always take a step back and always remind myself all those bad times I've been through, because I'm blessed. I always say I'm blessed, you know.
When you say bad times, tell me about the worst memory of your life.
Of my life. There's many. There's many. To pick one, it's just, I wouldn't really get into it, man, you know. But there is many that I can't really go into, man.
Tell me one that you can go into.
Like a worst memory of my life?
Just something you'll never forget.
I'll say one situation when I was nearly shot.
Tell me what happened.
I was just standing there, came to check a few guys, you know, and everyone was standing there. And I remember the guys I was with was like, yo, that car over there is moving suspicious. But I've always been a confident guy. I'm not really watching nothing. And we're standing there, and I remember the car just coming round and pulls up right in front of me. The car pulls up in front of me, and everyone ran. But I stayed there. So I remember the window going down, and there was few firearms, like just pointing at me, just clicking, click, 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 click. And I just remember whoever the person that was sitting further away from the car. So let's say the car is facing like that. The driver's there, the shooter's is in the back of the car, and I'm standing right here. So the person sitting here, while this person's trying to shoot me, the person over here is leant over and tried to shoot his gun as well, but the gun just wasn't working. I'm saying all the guns in the car wasn't working, and the car sped off. So that's one moment, and then everyone ran back and said, "Kola, fucking hell!" You know what I'm saying?
So I guess that life that you was a part of, what advice would you give to people who are, I guess, in that now, 19, 20? And why will you never go back there?
It's not like, I don't like to say I was part of it, but, you know, where I grew up is, you know, things happen, but I just say to people, you just be in control of you. You don't have to address every issue. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to address every single situation that people try and get you involved in. You have to be confident in yourself, what you would do. Because like my mum always says to me when I was younger, she always goes, don't be the job for the police to do. And I didn't quite understood what she meant at that time. Like, don't give police work to do, don't be their job. But it's only as I got older, I realized, you know what? When I'm finding myself in this situation, that's the job for the police to do. And their business is getting convictions. I'm the one in the court. Whenever I've been in court, I'm the reason why everyone is in court. And I'm the one that faces the most consequences in court. But guess where everyone else who triggered all of this, guess where they are? They're nowhere. They're probably standing as victim. They're standing as witnesses. They're standing as informants. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I'm there. And regardless of how many friends, how many people got you, you're there by yourself. You are the one that's going to face the consequences. So you go always remind yourself that you have a choice not to be the job for the police. And I always remind myself that all the time.
And Kola, on the back of that, tell me the best memory of your life.
I say the best memory of my life is when I made my first sale of Barnes Gorelli, my clothing brand. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that's one of the best memories, because I never thought to myself I would make something that would actually sell legally. Do you know what I'm saying? So when I sold my first t-shirt, funny enough, when I was in prison, it gave me a boost. And the way everyone received it, you know, more people wanted this clothing brand. And, you know, till this day, when I was in prison all those years, when I got recalled, you know, people always ask me, what do you miss about outside? You know, most people think, oh, I was missing going out with girls or partying or, you know, eating food. They always ask me. I didn't miss nothing like that. What I'd missed was just waking up to my clothes in my bed, all the clothes I sold, and waking up to my embroidery machine.
Kola, I want to say thank you for sharing your story. And before we finish, is there anything that you'd like to say?
I'd just like to say thanks for having me, first of all. And everyone watching, go follow Barnes Gorelli on Instagram, on Snapchat. And don't just be lit, be Barnes Gorelli lit.
Thank you, bro.